Hey everybody, this video is a bit late by about a month as far as being timely, but it is about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life. And I've had weeks and weeks to think about this, and I've seen a lot of responses to what happened, but I felt like it was quickly rushed out of mainstream discussions because of the Republican National Convention, and then Joe Biden deciding to drop out of the race right afterward, and then it's been a lot of talk about Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. But we've got a couple more weeks before the election here in the United States come November, and I thought, what was missing out of all of the discussions from the left on YouTube in the communities that I'm usually a part of, was that one really good gotcha moment where some person on the left said, yeah, Trump's so bad he deserved it, and then everybody pouncing on Nick, and really no one really wanted to be that person to say that he had crossed so many lines that he deserved to be assassinated. And I don't think that I'm that person either that would make that argument. But I was like, what would be something that I could give to people as a discussion point to just let's chew on this for a little bit longer. How did this happen? I know that I've seen a whole bunch of conspiracy theory videos on how lax the security was around that area and all that, but and my favorite conspiracy happens to be that Trump was distancing himself from Project 2025, and then the assassination attempt happens, and then quickly thereafter he chooses the best friend of the leader of the Heritage Project to be his running mate, and is thereby solidly closer to Project 2025. But anyways, I kept thinking, how does this happen? And it's just that week's news, and then we're on to the next thing. I mean, in my life, but just prior to my life, there was the JFK assassination, right? That was a touch point for so many people. Everybody knows, where were they when they heard the news, right? That I talked to. And then in my childhood, it was the Challenger explosion. And then later on in my young adulthood, it was 9/11, right? We all know where we were when that happened. And so there's these touch points that happen. And one of them was an assassination. And just about every 20 years or so that something like this happens that's memorable to a U.S. president. Now, it's actually way more common than that it's attempted. I've looked it up, but facts be damned, people will say, oh, it hasn't happened since Reagan was shot. No, there's been a lot more attempts. There's a Wikipedia article. Just go ahead. But I finally got to this point where, if I was going to give all of the conservative people on YouTube something to chew on, something in that general area that would really piss them off, it would be for me to say that I understand how something like this could happen, right? I'm not advocating that anyone do anything like that guy tried to do, okay? In fact, I'm not advocating that anyone be so selfless as to risk your own life for anything political, right? Like, there are better ways, peaceful ways, right? I don't want anyone to put yourself in harm's way for anything anymore. You know, try everything peaceful first, okay? But I was thinking about, like, what was the mindset of this attempted assassin, right? And what I came up with, like, the closest thing that I could think of that would be the reason why he would do such a thing, because, you know, we've heard a lot of his background and everything, how he could have been Republican, he could have been, you know, there's so many different, like, clues in his life, but, like, some people say that he was a disaffected Republican who thought that Trump was bad for the party, right? Some people say that. Some people say that, no, he was a lefty. But what I'm thinking could have gone through his head is that the rules don't matter anymore. Because I'm thinking about who he was trying to shoot, right? The rules don't matter anymore, right? Specifically with Trump, I would say the fact that January 6th, the insurrection happened, he never got arrested for it, never spent any time in jail for that. Like, he's the candidate that's running for president again for the Republican Party. He should not be able to do such a thing and then still be in our politics, right? And so the rules seem to not matter anymore. And justice delayed is definitely justice denied here, because he's the guy on the ticket, right? He's delayed this process so long. And it's not just Trump as a rule breaker. So if I'm looking back at the last, like, 20 years of fuckery, not just in the U.S., but, like, around the world, right? What stands out the most to me is it's a tiny thing for some people, but the Senate in the United States changed the filibuster rules, like in 2013 and 2017, and so, like, it used to be that you couldn't filibuster a whole bunch of appointments, but you could filibuster, like, a Supreme Court nominee. Like, that could be filibustered. But then Mitch McConnell, like, changed even that to where you can't filibuster that anymore. But the reason why he did it was, like, very in the moment. Like, they wanted their guy to get in, and so, but, like, it was the Senate Democrats. It was Harry Reid. He was the one who got rid of it for, like, a lot of the executive branch nominations that were lower than that. And then it was Mitch McConnell that extended it for Republicans just to get that extra Supreme Court justice, right? But like both parties doing this was a lot of fuckery, right? They did it just in the moment because they wanted to get stuff done. For Harry Reid, of course, it was so that Obama could nominate people without having all of his nominations filibustered. Gerrymandering. Y'all know about gerrymandering. There's a lot about it in the news, right? And it's fucked. We know it's fucked, right? We know that we have laws about it, that it shouldn't be so fucked, and yet it still persists, right? And in the last 20 years, we've heard so much the fuck about it, right? And when one side doesn't get their way, the other side, gets their way. The other side will fight hard to try to get their way, so it's gerrymandered to their favor. It's like no one wants, like, fairness in these elections, it's all just, wanting gerrymandering for their side. More about Trump, though. The impeachment process. One of the things that was really strange was when part of the impeachment process, in 2019 and 2021, it for both impeachments, it wasn't public. They could just say, oh, you know what, we don't want this part public. And why did they do that? Because it was politically good for them, the people who made it not public. And why did we allow that to happen? Didn't have prior to that, it never happened that way. These are supposed to be public things. And so they made so much of it closed-door depositions, and it shouldn't have been, right? But we allowed it because fuck the rules. Fuck all of the pageantry traditions that we've had, right? Fuck all of the procedural traditions that we've had. If there's no rule stating it, we can, break the rule to our advantage. And if there is a rule stating it, we'll change the rule. That's what I've seen in the last 20 years of American politics. But also in fucking the UK with the Brexit negotiations that happened 2016 to 2020. You know what proroguing is? When I heard it, I was like, what the fuck? So basically, Boris Johnson whispers in the Queen's ear and says, hey, could you just disband Parliament for a while so that we can do our Brexit without them being able to do oversight on it? Fucking break the rules for me, please. And there's this these traditions of having oversight and everything, and the Queen not having a lot to do with politics, but then when it's advantageous, they'll be like, oh wait, no, we can actually have this ace in the hole and we need to play it now. And that's what Boris Johnson did. And he's like the British Trump. I brought up the Supreme Court nominees not being able to be filibustered, and the one that got significant advantage from that was Brett Kavanaugh, who had sexual misconduct allegations, and the whole process of confirming him was highly contentious. Same as it was for Clarence Thomas back in the day. But at least during that, they heard Anita Hill out, and they went procedurally like they had been going for a long time, and there was no one side trying to break with procedure and tradition to their political advantage to stack the Supreme Court. And all of this, in the past 5 years, what I'd say is the post-pandemic response for COVID-19, right? Just for political gain, politicizing this thing that should be a health issue. So many politicians around the world, we're talking U.S., Brazil, UK, they have just gone against what scientists have been telling them, public health guidelines and scientific advice. Fuck them. No, that's not good for our numbers, for our polls, so fuck them, right? And a lot of people have died. A lot of people injured for life, for political gain. In the moment, short-term gains. Fuck. What's going on in Brazil right now? Fuck. It's we're teaching the world that the rules don't matter, and they're having their own little mini Trumpscapade over there. But Hungary is like, for me, the prime example of what could happen if we have neo-fascists that take over and they control all parties and everything. So Viktor Orban and his Fidesz party, they changed the country's constitution multiple times, undermining the democratic checks and balances, and pretty much consolidated power to limit the influence of their opposition forces. In the last 20 years, China did away with their term limits. So Xi Jinping is like president for life if he wants to be, just like fucking Putin, right? Brazil now is one thing. Like, I don't even want to get into it. This video is way too long. But like when they got rid of Dilma Rousseff by impeaching her with like, the whole process violated the constitutional norms, and it just set like a chain reaction into place where like now we have the politics of now, and the rules don't matter. Like, violate all the processes you want, ask for forgiveness. Don't even fucking ask for forgiveness. Like, just fucking boldly do it. Right? U.S. Debt ceiling crises, right? We tell ourselves that when we get to this one point where we're like about to spend over this limit, we're going to like shut down the government, but then like we don't. We just kick the can down the road. This happened like 2011, happened again last year, 2023. They're like fake crises now. Like we set this diet for ourselves for our spending and our budget, but then we just fucking use it for political gain and point the finger at the other party, and then the rules don't fucking matter. Like, we set rules and then we break them. That's it. So when I see somebody who, by my observation, has done many illegal things and is as disreputable as Trump, I think back to the training I got in the Army as to what were the punishments for treason and insurrection and espionage and all those things. They all, lead to, logically this one ending for people, right? In a prison until you are executed, right? Except for Trump. He can, like he said, shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and still people will vote for him because the rules don't matter, right? And if the rules don't matter and you want to see something changed, then some people will say, well, the only difference between me doing this or not is like whether or not I have the guts to do it, to affect the political change that I want to see. Because I just have to do the thing, and then the rules don't matter. Because what the last 20 years of politics around the world have taught us is the rules don't matter. That's why Trump was shot at. And I know it's victim blaming, but he's part of the problem. He's one of those people breaking rules along the way. When I say that we need to see a return to decorum and people abiding by the rules, that's why I don't want to see Trump anymore. Like, not even just like, I just don't want to hear him. I don't want to, I rejoiced when he lost his Twitter account because I wouldn't have to hear about what he tweeted. And now he truth socials. Fuck. But yeah, I understand why The guy probably thought, you know what? Fuck the rules.